At one point, this video was gonna be a rant on how streaming TV is now worse than cable. Not exactly an original hot take, but as I crawled deeper into the rabbit hole, I realized that not only is streaming TV starting to look a lot like cable did in the 90s, the so-called golden age of television that we've been enjoying is a bubble that's about to burst. But maybe that's not entirely bad? Stick with me. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and if you grew up watching TV in the pre-streaming era, then you've probably gotten increasingly frustrated over the past few years as everything that was cool about streaming TV has slowly eroded to the point that many of us now either pay more for streaming services than we did for cable, or deal with so many ads that streaming feels more like cable than ever before. But I'm not here to point out what you already know, although I think we can all agree that there's something cathartic to just complaining about something that sucks. No, instead, I want to talk about the inevitable collapse of this golden age of TV that we've been enjoying for the past few years. The sheer glut of really high quality shows on demand, ready and waiting for us anytime we turn on our TV. It's gonna look a whole lot different soon. I'm gonna explain how and why, and then get into why, even though that sounds like a loss, like a bad thing, maybe it isn't all bad. Let's get into it. So when I talk about a bubble bursting, I'm recalling the collapse of the real estate market in 2008, which, interestingly enough, is about when streaming TV got its start. The story of how we got to where we are today is important, so I'm gonna dive into that. But before I do, let me tell you how I got here, like here, making this video for you. 3 things happened over the past few weeks that just got under my skin. First, Amazon instituted an upcharge for ad-free streaming, and without saying anything, also stripped away once free perks like Dolby Vision HDR and Dolby Atmos Surround. Now, if you want ad-free Prime Video and high-quality HDR and surround sound, you've got to pony up about $3. I'm a little bothered at yet another upcharge, but to be fair, everyone else is doing it, so I'm not shocked that Amazon finally caved. It's just that I really feel like ad-free Amazon Prime Video was a nice value add to the free 2-day shipping I get on all the stuff I end up buying from Amazon. Anyway, shortly after that happened, I learned that Walmart bought Vizio for $2.3 billion. And I made a whole video about what that means. You can watch that when we're done here. But the news boils down to the fact that Vizio TVs are gonna have tons of ads on them. You open up your home screen to find Netflix or YouTube, and an ad for a deal on tires at the Walmart Auto Center will be waiting for you. Lovely. And as if I needed something else to be annoyed by, I recently turned on my Google TV to be greeted by a Kia EV6 ad that was presented like a TV show I could watch. One of the reasons that I preferred Google TV was that the ads were mostly for content I could watch, not products that I could buy. And well, that's changing, and we can expect to see the same on just about every other streaming platform. Now, individually, those 3 occurrences were annoyances, but take them together and they call attention to how streaming TV has, somehow, become worse than cable. It's expensive to start with now that subscription prices have gone up. Premium features like 4K and HDR at even more cost. The experience is now filled with ads. This is not the streaming TV future that I signed up for, which got me thinking about how we got here. Here's a little streaming TV history for you. It all starts with YouTube and its first big online video hit, SNL's Lazy Sunday short. True that, double true. From there, streaming video took off like a rocket, and that caught the attention of entrepreneurial visionaries and well-established mega media conglomerates alike. After failing 3 times to convince Blockbuster to partner up with Netflix, Reed Hastings launched Netflix's streaming service in 2007. Around the same time, Comcast, MySpace, Facebook, AOL, MSN, and Yahoo created a little skunkworks project called Hulu. NBC and Fox were quick to partner up, and Hulu was launched to the public in March of 2008. So now we have Netflix doing movies, Hulu doing TV shows, and Blockbuster no doubt feeling huge regret about some very poor life decisions. Coincidentally, it was right at this time in 2008 that I began my career in tech journalism. And as streaming TV grew, I, with the support of digital trends, made covering streaming video developments a core part of my job. And that's when cord cutting became a part of our lexicon. If you're, say, 25 years old or younger, then you might have missed the whole cord-cutting revolution. My 15-year-old daughter, for example, doesn't know a world that existed without streaming TV. But for many of us, cord-cutting was really exciting. Those who could started dropping cable and satellite TV in favor of streaming TV, thus cutting the cords that were run into their homes to deliver TV. Though, let's be honest, for a lot of folks, those same cords were delivering the internet service that made streaming possible, so the cord was never really cut. Cord cutting, though, represented a lot of things. It was about sticking it to the man, spending less money, and freedom. Freedom to watch what you wanted, when you wanted, and freedom from ads. It was TV on your terms. For a while there, subscription fees were enough to float streaming service boats, but as folks fled from linear TV to streaming services in higher numbers, advertisers had to follow. Once streaming services could show how many eyeballs they were getting and when they were getting them, advertisers moved to streaming platforms in droves, and streaming services were only too happy to take that money. Keep in mind, there was a time when you could watch a live show on TV, and during advertising breaks, there would just be a black screen. That changed really quickly. Then, once streaming services started making big money, they started making content. Netflix famously launched House of Cards in 2013, quickly followed by Orange is the New Black, BoJack Horseman, Black Mirror, and so many others. Not to be outdone, Hulu hopped into the mix with The Morning After, and later, The Handmaid's Tale. Amazon started with Alpha House and betas, and most of us now know where it went from there. Subscription prices started creeping up, the creation of ad-supported and ad-free tiers, and the withholding of certain features as premiums that you had to pay for, like 4K and HDR, and then ultimately a crackdown on shared accounts. Safe to say the cord cutter's dream is over, and it kind of has been for a while now. All the while, the platforms we use to access these streaming services, Roku, Android and Google TV, Apple TV, Fire TV, LG's WebOS, and Samsung's Tizen, they all saw exponential growth. And that's when the push for ads on those platforms caught traction. So now, not only are we seeing ads on the streaming services themselves, but we're seeing ads on the platforms that we use to get to our streaming services. Which kind of brings us to where we are today, right? When we turn on our TVs, we see platform-specific retail ads now. Amazon is marketing Amazon stuff. Walmart is marketing Walmart stuff. Roku and Google take money from whoever is ready to spend it with them. There are now free ad-supported tiers on every major streaming service. Some services are nothing but free TV with lots of conventional ads. Live streaming TV, like YouTube TV, is just as expensive as cable. And don't even get me started on the bundles. The great unbundler that streaming was supposed to be has now become the worst bundler of them all. It's enough to drive you back to cable or satellite. Almost. For now, cable boxes and satellite boxes don't have many of their own ads, but they will soon. And besides, a lot of the content that we want to watch is original content that you can't get on cable, which leads us nicely into the part of the story where we look at where things are now headed. I think we're just months away from seeing ads on cable and satellite box platforms that looks just like the ones that we see on Roku and Google TV. I mean, honestly, it's been a while since I had cable, so for all I know, those ads have already started to show up. Next up, I expect to see more cable-like fees coming to streaming services. Not as mysterious and old school as cable access fees and terrestrial broadcast fees, but more like, say you cancel a service and resubscribe just when your favorite shows come out. Right now, that's a good way to save money. Ditch Disney Plus until the next season of Mandalorian comes out, resubscribe, binge at will, then cancel it again, right? Not for long, folks. I think pretty soon you'll have to pay a resubscribe fee if you do that, which will make canceling a whole lot less attractive. I also think that we can expect to see more of what used to be standard features becoming paid features or add-ons. Maybe a limit on the number of hours that you can stream in a day or month. Maybe binging a whole season costs extra. But why more money grabbing? Because for all the rate hikes we've seen and all the ad revenue that's coming in now, it's still not enough. See, streaming services were a hard sell when they got started. There was a whole chicken or the egg situation happening wherein streaming services needed eyeballs to sell advertising, but at the same time, they needed revenue to secure or make content to attract viewers. So they made a lot of investments and lost a lot of money as they offered up lots of content for a relatively low price. Guys, it was never a sustainable model. Eventually, they were going to need to jack up the price of subscriptions and pull in advertising revenue in order to turn a profit. And to an extent, they have. But I fear they still aren't making enough money to sustain themselves. And that's why I see a bubble that's about to burst. What we saw during lockdown was a temporary flood of viewers to streaming services. Just take a look at, say, Roku's stock prices over the last 3 years. Skyrocketed during lockdown, and then the bottom fell out, like way out. That influx of viewers during that time inflated optimism and production budgets. A lot of money got spent in hopes that viewers could be retained, but that entertainment inflation was temporary. The tide has now receded, and streaming services are now facing some hard facts. There are too many streaming services competing for viewers. They aren't pulling in enough views to make up for all the spending they did when viewership was through the roof. Guys, Economics 101 tells us that the market will only bear so much. Folks are deciding to cancel their subscriptions as they realize they don't have as much time for watching TV as they did just a few years ago. I mean, apps like Mint and Rocket Money, they've made entire businesses out of helping us cancel subscriptions that we don't use. And as that subscription money starts to dry up, so too does the ad money due to loss of viewership. Plus, folks, costs of production have gone way up. Inflation has had a real impact on how much it costs to make a movie or TV show. Add in the writer and actor strikes that resulted in a loss of production time and yet another hike to the cost of production. It just costs way more to pay actors and writers now. And you have a perfect storm for collapse. All of this to say, I think the consolidation of streaming services is inevitable at this point. It's really hard to imagine Hulu, Peacock, and Paramount Plus all surviving when they compete for many of the same shows. It just seems silly to have one streaming service for Star Trek and another for Friends and Seinfeld. And when this consolidation happens, it's going to be led and controlled by the legacy media giants, which are already a blend of studios and distribution platforms like Comcast, NBC, Universal. They not only make the content, but they own the streaming services that the content goes to. And in this case, they also own the internet pipeline that it travels down to get to your TV, which is problematic, but apparently the FCC is cool with it, so there you go. Now, I don't think Netflix and Max are just gonna go away, but I have a hard time imagining that Hulu, Peacock, Paramount Plus, Sling TV, YouTube TV, Fubo, Pluto, and countless others can all coexist. I think content is gonna need to funnel down into just a handful of streaming services, and then those streaming services, because they offer access to so much content, are gonna ramp up in cost, at least on the short term. And as we see that consolidation, I think we're gonna see a reduction in how many shows are made. Budgets will once again be poured into guaranteed hits. I think we're gonna see less spaghetti thrown on the wall and more strategy around what shows do and don't get made. I think we're gonna start seeing a greater disparity in the quality of the shows that were offered. Not all of them are gonna be bangers like they are now. All of them with huge production budgets and excellent writing and stellar visual effects. I mean, it's hard not to look at this and think eventually we just have 90s style cable TV again, but it's on the internet. That sounds like going backward. And going backward is bad, right? But maybe it's not all bad. I mean, have you ever noticed that there are fewer water cooler moments around TV shows? It used to be everyone was talking about the latest episode of Lost or Game of Thrones. But more recently, it seems like everyone is watching something different. Hey, did you see the latest episode of Jack Ryan? Huh? No, is that on Netflix or what? Oh, hey, are you watching The Lincoln Lawyer? I mean, what's that? I mean, it's kind of hard to get invested in the same show as other people when the experience is the way it is. You sit down on your couch, you turn on your TV, there is a myriad of shows to choose from, and you just end up picking the one that kind of appeals to you most. And because it's almost guaranteed to be super great, you get into it deeply. But are your friends having the same experience? More often than not, the answer is no. Maybe if there aren't so many just absolutely amazing shows, more of us will be watching the same thing at roughly the same time. Maybe we won't feel like we're constantly missing out on the next must-see TV hit. And maybe if competition arises among slightly fewer competitors, prices will eventually level out. I mean, you can easily exceed the cost of cable TV subscriptions with just a handful of streaming services right now. Perhaps if we don't have to subscribe and unsubscribe and resubscribe to multiple services, the market will stabilize and picking teams won't be as arduous, and streaming services will make their prices more compelling to lure viewers over. I don't know, maybe I'm just being overly optimistic right now, but can we hope? All I know is that the cord-cutting revolution is over, and it looks like we lost. And while the golden age of TV has been a fun ride, capitalism, being what it is, will almost certainly call an end to all of it. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. What do you think about this take? Am I just off my rocker? Is streaming TV just about to get way better and I've got this all wrong? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one, and until then, here's 2 other videos I think you might like. You know what I'm talking about? No. Do you know the Lazy Sunday video? Oh my God.